Hey, love, if y'all are curious about the rescheduled reads, those were already done this week. They are on YouTube. If you look up the movie Thinner, it's a Stephen King book, a Stephen King movie. So when I do mini past life reads, by the way, you can now book full past life reads with me. I put that back up. So when you do a mini past life read, I'm going to tell you what is the main thing affecting you right now and why. So Miss Monica, you are super struggling with who you are internally right now. Your divine feminine and your divine masculine are almost at war with each other. And so you are swinging back and forth like crazy. Like one moment you are super feminine and one moment you are super masculine, and you're having a really, really hard time trying to find that middle ground, or even something that's just not like that. You're having a hard time trying to find anything else. God damn it. That's going to go off for a minute. This is happening because you have a really interesting past life that is popping up. It's actually popped up several times in your life, and you've struggled with this a lot. So, to be honest, I would say that this past life is probably, I'm going to say really just right before World War I. And the reason you're struggling so hard with that divine feminine, divine masculine is that you were born a girl then too. And you were one of those accident kids, like way after all of the other kids were pretty much grown, and you were the only girl. Being that you were the only girl and your parents were older, like you had to grow up really quickly. You had, I'm going to say 4 living brothers. I think something happened to one of them. The second to oldest. You had 5 at one point, but the second to oldest, something happened to him. And your dad was not around. I don't believe your mom lived very long after you were born. I'm going to say probably before you were 10. She was gone. So you really had to grow up really quickly, and you ended up having to be kind of the man and woman of the house, because with the mom gone, and then with your dad continually, out working and everything, and you had to learn to be by yourself a lot. So you had to kind of learn to be extremely strong, extremely manly, extremely, like you even cut your hair off and dressed as a boy a lot, also for your own protection back then. But the reason that this is affecting you right now so hard is because I don't know what it is you bought recently that's triggered this. You buy things you're attracted to. This one is olive green. I'd almost say it's wool, or it's got a really unique texture. Maybe it's not wool, but it's got a really, really unique texture. So whatever this is that you just bought recently, it's that texture of that. It's really thick too. So I don't know if it's like a blanket or a coat or a pad or a car seat. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's thick. But that has triggered this. There are things, this has happened like 3 different times in this life. So you haven't got over that aspect of not being allowed to be who you were then. You never were allowed to really grow up in any way, shape, or form. You were never allowed to, well, I'm not going to say allowed. You never got married. You never had a family. Like, you never got to do things that, I don't think you knew any better. I don't see you having a lot of friends. I don't see you having a very busy life, like out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. There wasn't a lot of people around. There wasn't a lot of, there just wasn't anyone. There just wasn't anyone. And, you know, with a dad that doesn't care, with brothers that are gone, I kind of have a feeling after about 25, you really, really never saw any of them again. Not the dad, not your brothers, just kind of out there by yourself. And I don't think that you lived past 30 in this life. And there wasn't anything violent, anything like that. It just got sick and had no way to treat yourself. So that life felt abandoned. That life felt like you didn't get to accomplish anything. And it keeps popping up in this one. You're a really, really deep thinker, really deep emotionally. Your soul just, God damn, that scared the shit out of me. Your soul just overthinks everything. And so that life, it took you a hot minute to process through that. I almost said get over it, but that's not it. Like, you still feel that really deep inside there. You feel like everybody's going to leave you. Like, you feel like everybody's going to, you know, they're not going to stay very long because of that life. You have a lot of wonderful people in this life that have been there and that always will be there, but you don't believe them because you're still dealing with the trauma from this. I am actually unsure of how to tell you to handle this. It's something you're going to have to work through. So the little house that you were raised in, I would say, I'm going to describe it to you. I'm going to say it's somewhere in the Southwest, but it is at the base of some hills, like foothills. Not quite mountains, but foothills. But in this, this is a little house. I mean, just almost picturesque, like you'd see in a painting. Little house, had a big fence around it for horses and so on. Big mountains in the back this way. Like, if I'm looking down facing the house, there's two big mountains here, big hills there. There's one right here in the front, and there's another small one right here. I mean, it's almost surrounded, but not quite. And it's a lot of dirt and scrub brush. Like, there's not any grass, anything like that out there. So I would say probably Arizona. I would say probably Arizona, to be honest. But I also have a feeling that house is probably still out there. That foundation is still there. There's some really interesting areas of Arizona just south of Las Vegas that have a lot of really cool rocky-ish looking mountains around them. I would bet that's probably where it is. Oh, the rescheduled reads. Those were supposed to be today, and I had that wonderful lady in my shop. So I will get you guys taken care of. I totally forgot all about those. I thought y'all meant the ones from the other day. I'm glad you mentioned that. I totally forgot all about those. The lady got me distracted today. But Miss Monica, you're going to have to force yourself to find balance between this divine feminine and the divine masculine, because you were never allowed to be feminine in that life. You had to always be the masculine one. And so it's going to be a really big challenge in this life. It's going to be a really big hurdle for you to get over. And here's the other thing I'm going to say. Work on it, but don't overstress, and don't be, same in this life. Don't be mad at yourself if you cannot balance in this life. It's okay. We don't always get to process every single thing the way that we should process it in every single life. So don't push yourself too hard. I would say that this is kind of a starting point of starting to even this out, because that's a lot. That's a lot. And it's a lot of sadness, and it's a lot of unfair feelings, and a lot of resentment that's in there. And so it's just going to be something that you're going to have to chip away at little by little by little. Okay? But that's why you have this up and down in this life, with being really connected to your divine feminine and be really connected to your divine masculine. So I didn't see a lot of your comments, so I hope that made sense. I saw a few, but you're always going to have that alone feeling. The resentment is there. That's a lot of resentment. That's a lot of resentment. It is. Woo. That's going to scare the shit out of me. And in here in a minute, it's going to crash. But I'm like, really? Why are you so high? I only ate I didn't even eat 2 chicken strips. I ate 1.5. Come on now. Anyway. So I would work on, if you're not a fan of the solfeggio frequencies, and this goes for every single one of you that I'm reading for this evening. If you're not a fan of the solfeggio frequencies, then I would absolutely listen to them. The ones that are for like 496 and 528, those are fantastic for helping to process through some of the past life issues. There are also some really good meditations on YouTube that are made for dealing with past lives, especially while you sleep, like working through them in a dream state where you're more open. That's what I would recommend. That's what I would recommend. Hey, Mick, how are you? Miss Monica, I think that loneliness is always going to be there. And it's just going to be something where you're going to have to just know that it's going to be there. Just know that it's going to be there. It sucks. But a lot of you guys understand this. A lot of spiritual people understand this. We just feel lonely. And we're okay with that. And we know that, you know, I can be in a room of people that absolutely love me, but I'm still going to feel lonely, you know? So I will say this, Miss Monica, a pair of boots would help. A pair of new boots would help. Just plain brown. Don't have to be anything special, but it's something that you never really had in that life. And I think that would help that inner child a little bit. So, yeah. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be anything special. Just plain brown boots. If that makes sense. Are you kidding me? I've been looking for brown boots. Well, your spiritual advisor is prescribing that you go buy yourself a new pair of boots, and, you know, time for some new boot goofing. That's right. So, yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done these. I love doing these. That makes sense, Miss Monica. You'd say, how did you know but you're the Bodhi? Girl, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know. So, I don't know. 48 months. Oh my God. I can't believe that you guys have some of you guys have been watching me that long. So in June of this year, I will have been on TikTok for 4 years. That's crazy. Of course, I really didn't post anything. I didn't post anything really. I think I posted one thing, and then it was like fall of 2020 when I started posting. Yeah. So yeah. All right, Miss Ashli Young, you ready? Oh, thank you, Spiritual Sunshine. You are so welcome, Monica, honey. Yeah, I will say this, that I'm probably going to start doing more lives during the day. We are going to start reading at the shop. I'm going to start doing more lives during the day. So that way I do have a little bit of time off. Some evenings off. So yeah. I'm going to punch this thing right in his face. Good, Barbara. I'm so glad. All right, Ashli, you ready? Ooh, your soul has a bad girl streak. There's a reason that you are connected with the dark. There's a reason that you are connected with deities like Hel and Hecate and Nyx and those dark Lilith, dark feminine power deities. There's also a reason that here lately, y'all didn't see me on. Thank you, Sassy Pants. There's also a reason here lately that you've been pulled to step down the left-hand path. So your soul is one of those ones that you are a natural antagonist. Like you are a natural anarchist. Your soul is not happy unless there is anarchy around you. You thrive in chaos. What I'm looking at right now, I would say is probably late 1500s to early 1600s. Southern France. Excuse me, southeastern France. Your soul also has a knack for putting you in really interesting places. So in this particular life, your soul also is fairly feminine. It incarnates more as a woman than it does as a man. Because you have completely harnessed all of the divine feminine power in a lot of different lives, and you thrive on that. So your soul is also super restless, and it tries to pick lives where you're able to wander in some way, shape, or form. So the one I'm talking about right now, this is the second time that this past life has affected you in this one. The first one was, I'm going to say 3rd grade, 4th grade, when you got super, super obsessed with medieval Europe. got super obsessed with the Black Plague, got super obsessed with rogues, got super obsessed with thieves and things like that. Robin Hood, because that is a little bit of the life you lived in this particular past life. I would say that you were probably born sometime in the late 1580s, like 1588, 1589. And you're born to like, not a wealthy family, but not a poor family. Like, I would say semi-wealthy, because your family had a decent homestead, a decent amount of land. And there are 4 of you girls. There are 4 of you. And when I say that you weren't poor, like, you girls actually had teachers. You had a tutor. You were being groomed to marry upwards if you could. You are the oldest in this family. And there is no way you're marrying any of the men that your father is trying to marry you off to. And you are absolutely that woman that will run away. You have no problem braiding your hair up and riding off. Like, you disappear a lot. So part of the reason why you have the resentment right now in this life, why you're feeling so restless and just pissed off, is because something here in the last couple of years has triggered you feeling trapped again. So this life that I'm talking about right here, there came the time when your dad forced you to marry someone. Wasn't the worst choice, but wasn't the best choice either. But you kind of held out as long as you could, and a lot of the ones that would have made you happier ended up marrying other women. But the one that you ended up with was much older. And you really had a wonderful life. Like, you had everything you wanted, but you weren't satisfied because you weren't allowed to take off and leave and run. He did kind of have you under his thumb a little bit. You had a lot of freedom, but not the freedom you enjoyed as a kid and you know, a teenager. And so there's a lot of resentment there. There's also a lot of resentment of having to toe the line and having to be property. Basically, there's a lot of anger there that is boiling up in the inside, that of having to have children when you didn't want to, things like that. Like, there's a lot of resentment. There's a lot. Yours is different, and yours is against somebody that is not, you're not soul tied to this person, so you probably will never run into this soul again, not in this life at least. So that anger is still going to be there. I mean, you did live a nice life. You had everything you wanted. Lots of children, though. I mean, like 6. There's a lot of children here. And you were allowed to kind of dote on the kids and everything like that. Like, you absolutely married upwards, and, you know, your kids had very fantastic lives and so on. But you absolutely held a lot of resentment there. But I will say this, the man that you married absolutely loved you. Like, worshiped the ground you walked on, but still put his foot down a little bit with the, no, you know, you have to do as I say, in a way. So anytime that pops up in this life, it just, I'm going to say absolutely repeatedly, it triggers all of that for you again. It triggers, you have 5 kids in this life. Okay, that's funny as shit, Ashley. I just looked up just in time to see that. So anytime you feel like you're told what to do, that triggers that in you, that defiant aspect. There's also a really special connection with you and the night sky. There's in this life here that I'm looking at, like, you had your own little balcony area, like outside, where you could go and sit and just look at the sky. That is home. Like, that makes you feel happy and comfortable being able to sit outside and just look at the sky. It doesn't matter if anything's going on or not. If you can just sit out there and look at it. You sit outside at night for hours. Yeah, that is one of the few things that made you happy in that life, and that's why you connect to it now. But there's a lot of really deep, dark, feminine power energy with your soul. So if you don't already connect with goddesses like Nyx and Hecate and Hel and things like that, I absolutely would. I absolutely would. So yeah, that will help. That will help tremendously. But I mean, like I said, it was a good life. You had a lot of kids. You were well taken care of. You didn't want for anything, you know? So yeah. That makes sense. And I think it's so funny that you said you have 5 kids in this life. You are so welcome. Yeah, connect to the sky, connect to the night, connect to these darker entities, deities, etc. I think Nyx would probably be a fantastic one for you to connect with if you haven't already. So yeah. All right, Miss Courtney Poo, you ready? All right. Oh my God. There you are. Ooh, you have a big old strong warrior soul. Okay, you got it. You love a good underdog fight. Okay. And not just like every American loves a good underdog fight, but man, you connect to them on such a deep level. You love all of those old movies like Gladiator and the 300. You love those types of movies. So this life here in particular, this is an older one of yours. I would say this is back in the early 1200s, like 1212, 1213. And I would put this, you are all over the Greece, Turkey area, modern day Israel, Jordan. Like you're all over that area. Like you don't really sit still. Okay. So in that life, you're born a very large masculine person. I'm trying to trace back because that's one where you, in your mind, almost erased your own childhood. I have a feeling that as a very young kid, maybe 4 or 5, you were taken to the military to start training. I want to say that you are the third son, the third child, the third son. And that was what you got to do, was to go and be trained in some kind of military. But I mean, you are a big, massive dude. I would not be surprised if you're attracted to guys that have very broad shoulders, big barrel chests, like gladiator type guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if you're attracted to those in this life, or anybody that has a very large shoulder, arm stature. You also, for being such a big guy, was you were very, very good with a big, massive broadsword. It keeps coming back to you traveling all over that area. And I think that some of it was in a very small group, not so much big armies. So I kind of have the feeling that you either were part of a very small army or you were part of a, my words aren't working. Not militia. I'll think of it here in a minute. Mercenary. There we go. Like hired mercenaries. You don't really travel on sea, hardly at all. You want to touch your feet on land. So there is a phobia of the ocean here with this life. And I would not be surprised if you have a really interesting relationship with the ocean in this current life too. I would bet that you're not a big, like, I don't want to go over deep water. There's something with your soul that does not trust deep water, that does, you could care less if you ever get on a boat. But you don't have kids in this life. You don't get married in this life. And it's not a very long one. I would say maybe upper 30s. And it's also not one that ends very well. I mean, it, you know, live by the sword, die by the sword type of thing. And you're in this life as well, you're very, very disconnected. You're very disconnected from the world because all you know is fighting. All you know is that training. All you know are, you know, the handful of men that you travel with. That's all you know. So you don't ever have the, God damn, that scared the shit out of me. Scared the shit out of me. You don't ever have that, those roots. In fact, I doubt that you really ever saw your homeland more than once or twice. Yeah, that scared the shit out of me. Did y'all see me jump? I am a jumpy ass person, man. Especially when I'm doing reads and stuff and I get like really, really, I get really like entranced, in tune. Yeah. So you never got the chance to set up roots. And so that's something that's important to you in this life, is having roots, being able to say, oh, yep, that's where I grew up. This is where I lived. Like, you are a big photo lover. You want to see photos of everything. I would bet people get irritated. I would hit your headphones. Nope, not your headphones. I would bet that you get really lost in photos, lost in memories and so on, because in this life right here, like, the only memories you ever had were, you know, fighting, training, fighting, training, fighting, training. So in this life as well, I would be really, really curious to see what's in your fourth house, astrologically, because the fourth house is roots. It's how you anchor yourself here. So, yeah. 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 So, one of the ways that you're going to be able to fight the feelings that come with this past life is to set yourself up some roots, to set yourself up a place that you belong, that is yours. It doesn't have to be someone else's place, and it doesn't have to be anything at all that is huge or fancy or whatever. It just needs to be yours. This is where your roots are. This is where your fourth house is in Aquarius. Okay. Yeah. Oh, was that Miss Courtney that I read that? So, yeah. Miss Courtney. There's also something really interesting with turquoise and maroon, and I don't know what the connection is, but those two colors you connect to really deeply. So I don't know if this is the banner that you were under. I don't know if this is what your armor look like. I don't know, but there is something that really connects you to those two colors in particular. So yeah. So yeah. I mean, those two colors do go very well together. I'm just saying. So make sure you get yourself some roots, Courtney. Okay? Set your roots in as much as you can in this life. It'll help a lot with the issues here that you're still kind of dealing with a little bit. Okay? Does that make sense, love? I only have 2 drinks. I only have 2 drinks now. Usually I have like 4 or 6. You are very, very, very welcome. I don't know. I don't know how it's possible that I only have 2. All right, Miss Jennifer S., you ready? Looking up your 4th house, yeah. So by your 4th house is roots. So depending on what sign that is, and depending on if you have any placements in there, that'll tell you how you best put roots down. God damn it. I'm about to pull this thing out of my arm. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Like, no, ma'am. This thing is just, stop it. I didn't even get to eat anything good to make it go up. But I also have my alarm set lower. So, yeah. Hey, Barb. No, I just need my pancreas to work. You know, on a daily basis lately, I bitch to myself internally about how unfair being diabetic is. How unfair. All of these amazing, like, iced coffees and ice creams and pastries, and I can't have any of it. And it's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. All right, Miss Jennifer. Oh, you definitely have a very masculine soul. So this one is down in what would be the Philippines, like all between the mainland there, around the coast of Korea, around the coast of Taiwan, all down through the Philippines. I would say this one's probably in the early 1700s. 1734, 1735. Almost your entire life is spent on a boat. And it's trading, it's not fishing, because this boat is massive. I almost made a pirate joke at first, but like, you grew up with a family that was traders. You basically, I think seeing land, being on land was like a vacation. Does that make sense? Like, that was like the vacation. But there's literally a path. Like, it's down like this and back up, down like this and back up. Like, it's almost the same path over and over and over. Gathering supplies, making trades, grabbing new things, coming back up, selling them to all the rich merchants, going back down, like, just like this. Down, up, down, up. It's really, really interesting. but it's just, so your mom and you live on the ship with your dad. I actually don't think you have siblings. I don't think you have siblings at all. Like, I see you as a young kid, like 6, 7, 8 years old. And then next thing I see is you're like in your late 20s, helping with everything. The other thing I love is this, like, you have a really keen sense of direction. You have a really keen sense of, I'm just going to say intuition, like trusting your gut. Because what I kept seeing there for a minute was you knowing, and I think at a very young age, your dad started to trust you. You knowing, like, when to stop. You knowing when to pull into a port. You knowing when to, you know, okay, the weather's good, we can cross this open part. Like, you just knew. Like, you just knew. And so as long as your dad listened to you with, like, he got to where he would ask you, you know, is it time to go? Is it time to stay? And new people that would come on the ship to help would always laugh about that until they saw that you were right. Because it's really interesting. Like, I don't see very many storms at all on this boat. At all on this boat. So one thing I would love to know, Miss Jennifer. Hey, Miss Gail, how are you? One thing I would love to know is, because I feel like you do this with storms in this life too. Like, you know when they're going to be bad. You know when it's okay. Like, you know. Hey, Heathen Burgundy, how are you? Thank you, thank you. You know. So I'm going to say use that to your advantage. It's not as handy as being on a ship, but use that to your advantage. The thing about this life that's affecting you, it's not really anything deep or serious because you really, truly enjoyed that life. Found someone, got married, but never had children. Yes, you do. The one thing that is affecting you about this life is that you get restless, like such a deep restlessness, like down in the pit where you have no idea why you're so restless. One of those where you could go on a 3-week trip and come home and be home for an hour and be itching to leave again. Like, you get so restless sometimes that you drive yourself nuts. Thank you for doing that subscription there, Mom. I don't know the best way to fix that because, I mean, I don't know if you can just take off and, you know, go get on a boat and just cruise around the Philippines. So you're going to have to find other ways to make yourself happy, to alleviate that restless feeling. I don't think it bothers you very much, but I have a feeling it's bothering you right now. And anytime you feel like you're stuck, like you don't have a choice where you could leave or take off or whatever, it kind of rears its head a little bit. But there have been a lot of crotch rockets going up and down the highway. A lot. Oh, it's Friday night. I was like, why? I don't understand. It's Friday night. Idiots. And it's nice outside. But Miss Jennifer, you're going to have to find a way to let that restlessness come out. You've been debating moving somewhere else in the U.S. I don't know what you do for a living or if there's a possibility of travel with it, but that would help. I don't know if there's a possibility of you being able to take vacations more often or what. I will say this. I am curious if you are that fan of having like exotic beach scenes, whether it was on your computer, whether it's, you know, photos or whatever. Those times when you feel like you can't connect, when you feel like you're super restless, when you feel like you don't know which way is up, I would say to get on like YouTube. Yes, I would say to get on YouTube and just pull up some of the, there are videos of everything all the time. There's a ton on TikTok of exotic places, you know, in the Philippines, in Taiwan, like tours of those places, or just somebody sitting on the beach filming. I would highly recommend that to help kind of curb that restless feeling that you have, if that makes sense. And maps would help. Having a so the ship that you were on, that your dad had, was long and thin and a really interesting color of like milk chocolate brown. Like milk chocolate brown. A really pretty color. Really deep, pretty color. There is some red and maroon on the boat, but I don't think that you guys were tied to any specific company, any specific anything. You just kind of nomadic traders. So, I don't know, you might look for you might, you know, when you're out and about at flea markets or whatever, you might just look and see if you can find you a painting or a picture with a boat like that. Might help. So, yeah. I love that you're thinking about moving somewhere else. So, I mean, I don't see this life as a bad life at all. In fact, it sounds pretty fucking great to me. A lot of smooth sailing, nice old age, going to see all kinds of cool exotic places all the time. So I would say that this right here was a pretty fantastic one. And one that I would absolutely miss too. So, does that make sense, love? Every time I come in my office and start to do reads, my nose plugs up, and I assume it's because I'm way back here in the back of the house toward the back door where all the pollen is. And it's terrible. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. All right. Miss Courtney, did you know you have two? Thanks, Kathy. Waiting for this to figure out what it's doing. All right, let me close some of this shit out. I would love you to work. Okay. All right, Miss Mindy, you ready? Oh, good night, Mick. I hope you have a good weekend. You got it, Mermaid Ninja. I had my hair up in a bun all day because the wind here was insane. And I was going to leave it up in that bun because I didn't get to wash it this morning. But, yeah. I was going to yawn a bit. You really feel like you're boring. You feel like nothing about you is this glowing golden orb. You feel like, okay. So you have a really interesting little past life here that's affecting you really, really deeply. I would say that this one is, I'm curious, do you have family that was here around the time of the Revolutionary War? Because with this one in particular, I would place this one somewhere around the Boston area in the 1760s. Like you were born probably early 1760s, 1762 or 3. And even though you were born in a really interesting, really, oh, you do have a lot up there. Okay. Even though you had a very interesting life, you always complained that everything was boring. Like you felt like your life was really, really boring because you weren't allowed to go get in on the action. Like you kind of got whisked away in the big city there. So you were born to a little bit more of a wealthy family. You know, you went to school. You were very intelligent. You're very intelligent now. Your soul likes knowledge. You aren't happy unless you can have a life where you can gain knowledge. And I think that your own personal hell for your soul is being in a position where there's no learning. There's no books. There's no teacher. There's no nothing. So what I love about this is that your soul is extremely intelligent. I would not be surprised to know that you're really, really good at math, that you're really good at technology, at solving problems. And I don't just mean like, my boyfriend's cheating, break up with him. I don't just mean solving problems like that. I mean solving problems like really intricate problems. But you would agree with all of that. But you felt like this life was boring because you know, went to school and then you learned all the things and you know, learned how to, well, you were just an intelligent woman. You really wanted to help and you really wanted to be part of, you wanted to be something sneaky, not quite a spy, but you wanted to be something sneaky. You wanted to do something that helped and you weren't really ever allowed to. You were kept kind of behind the scenes at arm's length from anything that could have hurt you. Your dad was really, really good at keeping you safe. Like you were the golden girl. You have a fair amount of siblings. I'm gonna say at least 5, just an array, boys and girls, brothers and sisters. But there's something special about you. You are the middle. You're the middle. You're not the oldest. You're not the youngest. But you absolutely were your dad's favorite. And so he did everything he could to make sure that you were safe. Okay, so what's up with this? Because as I'm doing this, like, have you been getting really dizzy lately? I'm just curious. You fall a lot. Okay. I have a feeling, here's what I have a feeling. Because you're super intelligent, because your soul is super intelligent, and these dizzy spells that are going on, I think that your soul probably has always had them because you have a problem connecting to whatever meat sack you're in. I wouldn't be surprised to know that you have an immunodeficiency disorder as well. That literally just popped Pepsi in my eye because that's fun. That's fun. You do have one? I bet that in every single life your soul has one. Your soul doesn't stay in a meat sack very well. I also have a feeling that you take a long time in between lives Whereas a lot of people are on a pretty good cycle, you have a very elongated cycle. It impacts your hearing. Okay, so is that why you have the dizzy spells in this life? Thank you, Miss Angela. So there's not a lot of like lessons that you didn't do in this life that we're talking about here. You just felt like you didn't get to do enough. But at the same time, when faced with the idea of possibly being caught up in a war or caught up in a battle, like that terrified you as well. So I would say this, your soul's objective, anytime you always blamed your clumsy mother for it. Okay, that's funny. Anytime you incarnate in a meat sack, your whole goal is to learn as much as you can, to cram as much learning as you can into your brain, into your soul. Because the things that you learn, your meat sack learns, your meat sack brain learns, your soul keeps that knowledge. So, girl, I would branch out and I would just learn weird shit. You know, I would just learn weird shit. Stuff that seems like it's super out there, that like, why would you ever need to know this or whatever? That makes sense with the amount of knowledge. I would absolutely just start learning weird random shit. I would learn weird random shit. Because there's going to be something you come across that your soul, it's going to make your soul just happy for you to learn these things. There is also a martyr complex there. So you are the one that will throw yourself on the grenade for other people. You know what I mean? You're a very random person. That's funny. Bonus, you'll dominate at bar trivia. Okay, that was really funny. Yeah, that was funny. So, yeah, and you'll dominate at bar trivia. It'll be great. You can be on my team. I know all kinds of stupid shit. Yeah, stuff that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But there's nothing bad that I see in this life. I mean, aside from the fact that you were bored, you know, married, had... okay, the only thing I do see is there were 4 kids, but only 3 of them survived. So I have a feeling that one died as an infant. But, I mean, there's nothing bad. There's nothing scary. There's not a crazy amount of loss or anything like that. Like, it was just kind of a normal life. And I think that, for the time, and I think that that is why you got so bored, because it was a normal life. So anytime you feel like things are in the normal level, you get bored really fast. Really fast. You need constant stimulation for your brain. So, yeah. That makes sense, Miss Mindy? You don't like being boxed in and sheltered. Got it. I mean, I would say who does, but I know people that they're adults, older adults, and they're very sheltered, and they will be one of the first to tell you that they are happy being sheltered, that they don't want to change. So everybody, you know, to each his own. To each his own. I couldn't stand being boxed in. I don't mind being sheltered a little bit, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be so sheltered that I can't connect with reality. Does that make sense? All right, Miss Alexis, you are next, love. Yeah, learn all the crazy things. You didn't know this until someone tried a couple weeks ago, and you almost came out swinging. Oh, wow. Yeah. You are so welcome. Thank you, Shadow Dragon. Yeah, my hair, this is a byproduct of it being in a bun all day. This is a byproduct. If y'all saw it flip the other way, like, it's Check it. Yeah, we can make it go. The big boof. How's that? We can do the big boof. The big boof. There we go. Super punk rock Bodhi. Yeah, there we go. Super punk rock Bodhi. Better. Yeah. Because it was up all day long. All right, Alexis. Okay. You are interesting. You have a bit of a power streak in there. So you have a really masculine leaning soul. You incarnate as a man more often than you do a woman. And you really have kind of, I'm not going to say a power complex, but a power complex. I don't know how to explain that. It's as if your soul, you're an interesting, like, hybrid soul. Oh, it's so funny when I say stuff like that. I'm like, you literally sound like the stereotypical, like, weird ass, crazy spiritual lady. Oh my God, you're so Pleiadian. Oh my God. You have a very interesting hybrid soul. I would not be surprised one bit if in your birth chart there are a lot of numbers that coincide with both Pleiadian and Orion. And I would also bet that you have a few draconian markers in there as well. Not in a bad way, but you have this interesting low level, like, power hungry streak in there where I would bet my butt that you've had a lot of people that told you that you needed to let go of the control a little bit, and you needed to let other people be in control. You don't always have to drive the car, other people can drive, like things like that. I would also bet that you have that, I'm going to say complex, but it's not. It's like a learned behavior. And I think that you learn it with you thought that was just you being a Capricorn. I mean, that too. That's actually a sign of Orion. Strong Capricorn placements. The stronger the Capricorn placements, the more Orion leaning your soul is. So I forgot what I was saying. I was saying something and then it went right out of my brain. You have the need to drive the car. You have the need to do the things because other people are going to fuck it up. Like, you're like, just let me do it. Just let me do it. And then you get overwhelmed because, yeah. So with this I would say is probably very late 1600s, like 1697. And this is Southern England. In this one, you are very, very much a performer. You are one of those, you're born a man in this life and born into a family that was a little more than wealthy, to the point that you got to go to the university, like Oxford. You got to get into theater and things like that. You ended up becoming a performer, a very highly sought after performer. I'm trying to get a name for you. So I can describe you. And we're going to start there. You really have this hunger to know about You're really, really driven right now to find ancestors, to find connections. Like you're searching for something. Okay. So with this, with you in particular, I would say you're probably about 5'8", 5'9", kind of, you know, normal size, let's say that. But you have very chiseled jaw, like almost Greek god-like. So I would be surprised if, like, in this past life, you had ties to that. But you have kind of a darker sandy blonde hair. When you were a kid, it was almost chestnut color, and it got lighter as you got older. But like, you are an extremely handsome man. Very, very chiseled jaw, very chiseled nose, very broad shoulders. You also were a model for sculptors. You were a model for painters. And you were kind of a party boy. Like, you had no problem going to all the shindigs, drinking all the rich ladies' wine. You absolutely were kind of a party boy. And being that your parents had money, you didn't really have to work. You didn't have to do anything. But you absolutely were a fantastic actor. You were a fantastic performer. And all of the ladies loved you. And and you just ate that up. And your mom griped at you a lot until she passed away about settling down and meeting a girl and having children. But you in this life did not want to. You didn't want to have children. You didn't want to get married. You didn't want to settle down. Like, you just did not care. You do have other siblings. You have 2 sisters and a brother. And you are, like, the brother is the oldest, and then you, and then, you know, sister. So the older brother was going to get pretty much everything anyway, and the sisters got, you know, married off to very wealthy families. So you just kind of felt like, fuck it. Like, I don't want to deal with the family business. You literally were the rich bachelor party boy. The rich bachelor party boy. And I would say this was a vacation life, because you just did whatever you wanted to do. You didn't have anybody telling you no. And because you had money, your family had money, even though you didn't work for the family business, like when your father passed away, you know, there's a provision that you were always able to live in the house, even though the brother, you know, took over the estate. I wish I could get a name for you. I can see you like super clearly, and I would bet, I mean, there aren't going to be photos then, obviously, but I would bet that you could find yourself on multiple performer lists in Southern England. Like, you were all over London, all over Southern England. There are 3 estates in your family. There is a very large one south and east of London proper. And then there is a small one on the coast. And there is another one. So if I'm looking at the map, and like, here's London. So here's the big estate. There's a small one on the coast here. And then there's another one over here. I actually have a feeling that that family business is still running. So in this life right here, I think your mom had some Greek ties, because your mom had really dark, thick, curly hair and a very prominent nose. Very, very beautiful, but I don't believe that she was English. So and I think your dad used to tease her that he acquired her on a trip. Yeah, you absolutely were the epitome of the rich playboy in this life. So the thing about that, why it's affecting you now, is that you're having a mid-soul crisis, a mid-soul life crisis, I guess. like, you miss that. You miss the carefree aspect. You miss not having any responsibilities. You miss being taken care of. You miss performing. You miss all of the things that this life had. Just, I don't feel like being here tonight, so I'm going to take off to our estate down here and drink wine all night. Yeah, you absolutely, you miss that. You miss that. And so there are times you look around like, why don't I have a chateau an hour away? Like, why can't I just ride off on my horse and, whatever? You miss that. You miss it. So here's what I would say. Here's what's going to help. And it's going to sound stupid, but it's going to help. Buy yourself some really luxurious bedding. Very, very nice, like Egyptian cotton sheets, very thick, nice comforter with like a gold design on it, maybe some tassels. Like, literally, buy yourself some very, very rich, thick, luxurious bedding. I know that sounds weird, but that is the thing that your soul misses the most from this, is that type of bedding. In fact, I would bet anytime you go, on vacation or to a hotel or something, and the bedding is really thick and nice, like, I would bet you sleep like a fucking rock. You sleep like every baby, all the good babies. Let me say it that way, because some babies don't sleep. All y'all that have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't sleep. But you are all about the big cushy bed. You are all about, yeah, I would bet you sleep like a rock. So that is something you can do to connect back to that, and to, well, just to connect, because it's not affecting you in a way like, oh, you have this resentment or that resentment or whatever. It's not affecting you in that way, but I'm just saying what I'm saying. Just saying what I'm saying. What's up, Block Mamba? How are you? Long time no see. What are you up to? Thank you for the bunny ears. You have 3 kids, sleep is minimal. I mean, even with 1 kid, sleep is minimal sometimes. I'm just saying what I'm saying. All right. Nova, you ready? Courtney, are you here? Did you know you had 2? All boys. Oh, Lord. I had three boys, and 3 teenage boys in one house is just, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You are so welcome, Lexi, love. Oh, you are just a little old man soul. You are just a cute little old man soul. Oh, hang on here. There we go. So, Nova, how many times do you get made fun of that, or do you feel like a little old man, like bitching at kids on your lawn, or getting mad over some little bitty thing and then going, man, that is like something my grandparents would do, or whatever? You literally are a little old man soul. That is so funny. You are Benjamin Buttons in there, and in the inside. I would bet through your whole life you've been called an old soul too. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what life I would pull out of this. In every single life, you're going to be called an old soul. If you ever have somebody look at your birth chart, have them look at all your numbers. I'd be curious how many 0 placements you have. I have a feeling that this life you're in now, this meat sack you're in now, if not this one, then the next one, it's your last time around. Like, you've been here a long time. You don't play well with others because you don't understand others. You don't people very well because some of the younger souls infuriate you, and you can't shake your head enough. You also really love philosophy. You love to ask all of those. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? You also love to play devil's advocate. You love to ask just weird random questions. You love to make people think about stuff. You kind of love to you love to sit and brain the things that don't have an answer. So in this life in particular that I'm looking at, I'll say it that way. You studied with a lot of the great philosophers back in ancient Greece. You never wanted to be a writer. You never wanted all the recognition. Like, you just wanted to listen. You just wanted to sit in there. You just wanted to attend the lectures. You just wanted to use your brain. What's really funny is, too, in this life here, you're really quiet. Like this one, you are really, really quiet. Very smart. Book smart, street smart, like just super intelligent. Not only are you super intelligent, man, in almost every single life you have, you're really quiet and reserved. In almost every single life you have, like, you live a long time. You know how to pick a meat sack that will stay around for a long time. You do tend to incarnate a little more as a male than you do as a female. I mean, like 70-30. So you are not some intense girly girl. Excuse me. Anytime you incarnate as a woman, you are not an intense girly girl. In fact, you are more comfortable when you can just be comfortable. What's up with your shoes? I don't understand. You have something with shoes. And I don't mean like, you need all the shoes. There's something with your feet. You're an enigma. Well, I will say this, because let's talk about this past life. You right now are searching for an answer. In this life now, you're searching for an answer. Because in this past life, in listening to all of those theories, all of those philosophies, all of the lectures, all of the, you just ordered a new pair of shoes. That's funny. It's almost like, I'm not going to say you have a weird shoe size. I'm trying to think. I'll pinpoint words here in a second, okay? I don't feel like your feet are huge. I don't feel like they're small. I feel like they're normal size. But there is something with you standing, like a lot. Walking, just like pacing. I don't know if you just pace when you're on the phone, if you pace whenever you're nervous, but it's just a lot of walking. You did it in this, like your meat sack does it all the time. Your meat sack does it all the time. It's just a random walking. It's not walking with a purpose. It's just a random walking. I knew that was coming. So, oh, no. The Blue Bodhi 2 followed me. Did you guys know that? The Blue Bodhi 2 followed me. And there are almost 3,000 people that follow that one. I don't know. You're very ADHD and always on the move. So I have to be careful, like getting into this life right here too much, because, and I'm going to advise you do the same. Be careful how far you get into a lot of philosophy, because you did a lot of really deep, intense soul searching in this life right here. You, from the time you were born, that was a weird noise. My kid's asleep, so it sounded like a box being thrown on my porch, but my thing didn't go off. Anyway, be really careful with how far you get into philosophy, into thinking, into whatever. But with this life, you had a really good life. This is one of those where I can't see a lot of your childhood. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of studying. There's a lot of schooling. There's a lot of tutoring. There's a lot of, I really think you probably maybe had one brother, one or two at the most. But your dad is someone that's in politics. And so you're kind of expected to go in as well. And I think that's what got you into this love of philosophy, because you wanted to make things better, not continue down the same path. You're a very progressive thinker. Like you would say like liberal back then. You were very, very progressive on, you know, listening to how to make the world better. But you just watch the video. For those of you guys just joining, you better go watch that video. I want to know what you think. You better comment. I want to know what you think. But you live to be really old in this life. You don't ever get married. You don't ever have kids. I think that it's probably your MO is to not have a lot of kids. You don't tend to get married. You don't tend to have a lot of kids. But I will say this. But I will say this. You're very, very in tune with any of the ancient Greek philosophers. You're very in tune with any of the ancient Greek gods. You're very in tune, especially with any of them that have to do with politics, with time, with caring for the people, etc. If you don't know much about the god Janus, I would look up the god Janus. One of the things that cracks me up is that how I mentioned that you just kind of walk all around and just, you know, nerd around and so on. I'm tired of hearing weird noises. I think my kid has her TV on in there. Because I swear I just heard like an electric saw, like, or a screwdriver, electric screwdriver. But I wouldn't be surprised if you walk a specific way. You know how some people walk with their arms behind their back or something like that. Girl, you need to delve down some philosophy. Seriously. I would sit and watch some documentaries. I would sit and study some of these ancient philosophers, and I would bet that you feel right the fuck at home. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't a few tears just kind of missing being in that spot. You've been told you waddle. So, yeah. Does that make sense, Miss Nova? I would highly advise you to just watch some of the documentaries on some of those old philosophers, on the ancient philosophers. You're very, very connected with it. And I have a feeling that that may even provide some of the answers you've been looking for. Okay. No, I'm not agitated. I'm tired. Last night was a very long night. And yeah, it was a very long night. You're welcome so much, love. Thank you, Snow. Good night, Binksy. All right, April Stone, you ready? Hey, KP. You know, Keisha, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to look at that. Oh, thank you, Snow. I actually need to redo it. It's not as bright as I normally like it to be. I'm going to redo it Sunday. That's a good catch, Keisha. Because I don't know. Yeah. I wondered that too. Reezer. Miss Holly Marie, I believe so. Did y'all see what I saw there at the end? Did y'all see what I saw there at the end? So I've had conversations over the last 2 days with people about did y'all hear that? I don't know what the fuck that was. That was gunshots. Whoa. Well, that's fun. So earlier I was hearing a whole bunch of motorcycles go off too. I live not too far from a highway, like, well, about half a mile from one of the major highways here in Tulsa. And usually on the weekends, especially when it's nice, they're stupid. They are so stupid out there. And the wind is blowing like insane here. But yeah, those were gunshots. It could be an electrical transformer. But it was like pop, 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 pop. So that's why I was like, okay. Well, it's not really spring break here. I think everybody here is back to school. I think I can still hear it. That's crazy. Hello in Bartlesville. Oh, I have cameras all over here. I will have cameras all over there. All these cameras will move when I move. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Of course it's Easter weekend. Everything has been crazy. Okay, so y'all can hear it. So I'm not crazy. All right. Yeah, it's been really weirdly quiet. Really weirdly quiet over here. I don't like it. I'm doing it all good. Whoa. Holy shit, dude. That's a lot. Oh, thank you. How is Vegas? Well, Kami, that will be next Tuesday. All right, Miss April. So I have April. I didn't see if Courtney knew if she has 2 or not, and if not, I'll just refund her for 1. Vendor, I cannot pronounce your first name, and I am going to murderize it, and I don't want to do that, just so you know. Then I have Catherine West. I have Danny, Brandon, Chelsea, Miss Chelsea, Donna, Danielle, Jeannie, Janice, Beth, and Miss Tiffany. All right, so I need to shut my face and get on it. All right, Miss April. just listening. Like, Zeus usually doesn't bark. Like, he's, yeah. Sanelia. Sanelia. Okay, is that right? Sanelia? Am I saying it right? Oh, thank you, love. Yeah, something's still going on down there. It's weird. I'm just listening. I mean, yeah, kind of. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I knew I was gonna myrtleize it. Like, that is such a really pretty name, and yeah, the Batista I got, but that one I got. That one I got. All right, Miss April. Let me get to Miss April here. So I would not be surprised to know, Miss April, if you should have been a twin, are a twin, had a twin pass away in the womb, something like that, because you have another soul that the two of you are almost always, you're almost always twins. And the two of you switch off. Like, you're both very equally balanced with masculine and feminine. And sometimes you're both boys, sometimes you're both girls. Sometimes you're the girl and the other one's the boy, and then vice versa. Like, you guys just take turns with all of it. It's almost as if the two of you are trying to see if you can have how different your experiences can be as part of the same unit, part of the same soul, etc. In this life here, I would bet this is the one right before this one. Y'all don't take very long either. Y'all are impatient. It's like you can't wait to jump back in. So, you know how I said earlier how most people are on a cycle and they, you know, in and out, and that one person was elongated? Yours is like this. Like, you don't want to process. You just want to get back in and go. Like, you are those, you're the kids that jump right back in the game after, you know, getting obliterated in points, you know. You fall down and like, yeah, let's do it again. Like, yeah. You have kind of a very, you have a young soul. You have a young soul. You're still excited to learn everything. You're still looking around like everything is brand new, jumping right back in it. So this life here is the one right before this one. And this is really odd to get this specific of a date, but I would say that you passed away in 1934, like September. And you were a twin here. You were the female twin, and you have a twin brother. And the two of you were ornery as shit. So ornery. Ornery as shit. This is upstate New York. I would say Albany area. And I'm going to say that I don't know if it's you or your brother. I think it's you. Goes by the nickname Jesse. So September 1934. Jesse is not your name. Jessica is not your name, but you go by the name Jesse. Like, that's the nickname you go by. You wanted to be a writer really bad. You love words, you love poetry, you love writing, you love putting words together. But you were worried that because you're a woman, you wouldn't get published. And so you never published any of your works. Because what's funny is I see you sitting up throughout your life with so you have really beautiful blonde hair. I see you sitting up throughout your life with a man with almost black hair, like shaggy, almost black hair, sitting by firelight, writing, talking, Oh, you were so in love with this man. Okay. In a good way, in a good way. I don't mean like, ugh. I mean, it is, ugh, but it's in a good way. You knew this young man since you were kids. Like the two of you were around each other since you were kids, and so your families were thrilled when you know when the two of you got married. Your twin was even thrilled when you got married. For some reason, I don't see your twin living very long in this life. You lived a long time. Several kids, I would say 3. But I don't think your twin lives past 30. And I don't think it's anything terrible. I think this is like it's the R, it's an R name, but it's a fever. I can't words it right now. But oh, my friend, you just had a fantastic life here, aside from not being able to publish your writing and losing your twin. I keep seeing you sitting by, by the fireplace with this man, talking, writing, laughing, smiling, like happiest your soul has been. I have a feeling that you are rheumatic. That's it. Thank you. I have a feeling that you are looking for this same soul in this life. You are doing everything you can to find that soul in this life. Because it's like he's here and you're trying to find him. But here's the thing. Sometimes when we find a connection like that, our meat sack, our soul may only be able to find that person every other time. To be honest, don't think you're going to find him in this life. I think it's a really, really big, long shot for you to actually find him. But it doesn't mean you can't be happy. It's just, I don't think the two of you are supposed to meet in this life. Next life, yes. This life, no. I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm missing, because I keep going back to seeing the two of you sitting, I mean, literally like bearskin rug, big old black bear in front of the fireplace. I have a feeling that someone stole your written work, and either you don't know, or you didn't know then, or you didn't find out until maybe right before you passed away. But I have a feeling that someone stole some of your poetry. They stole some of your work. Because there is a little bit of a vengeance here. But the thing is, your soul knows that you really can't do anything about it. Because it's not like you can be like, oh yeah, I'm so-and-so, and this is my shit. But I am going to say this. There's a couple of poems specifically that you wrote, and one is about a white mountain with pink flowers. And that one in particular, you are really, really connected to, because it was one of your favorite places to see. I wish I could tell you the name of the poem. It's almost like when I'm, those gorgeous, they're like, I don't know what they are. They're paintings, but when you go into some like Chinese restaurants, they'll have these art pieces that are like 3, 4, 5 foot tall, but they're only like this wide, and you'll see like a mountain and the cherry blossoms. It's the words of that poem are like that painting. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's kind of what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. I know you're looking for this soulmate. I know you're looking for that connection again, but I don't think the two of you are meant to find each other in this life. The other thing is this. It's okay to be happy again in this life. There was, I don't know if it was losing, people around you as you got older before you passed away or what, but you feel like in this life now, You didn't get to accomplish something. It's something little bitty. You didn't get to do a few little tiny things. And so I would do the little tiny things. I would do things in this life that make you happy. Okay, I think your middle name is actually Jessica, and I think that's why you go by Jessie. Your first name starts with an A. I wish I could pull more, but I can't. I can't. Is that you there, Miss April? I would research a little bit. There is a poem from an author. I'm going to put his name in air quotes, in upstate New York around the like late 20s, early 30s, who literally stole a few pieces of your work. Like he stole a few pieces of your work. And I would say that you are probably buried somewhere around Albany, New York. And yeah, like September 1934. I would not be surprised if your first name is Abigail or something similar of it, because that's kind of the symbols and syllables, excuse me, that I get from that name. But you did go by Jessie, just so you know. I can't pull a last name. Sometimes I can, but I can't pull a last name in this time. In this time. So, April, you're going to have to let me know when you find yourself. Just saying. All right. All right, S. I'm just going to call you S. Batista, you're up. Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can say it right, okay? Sanelia? Sanelia? You think she wiped something under the rug? Okay, I mean, I'm going to look tomorrow. Really? I got it? Sanelia? Okay. I am unfortunately sure I'm probably not the only person you've had to walk through saying your name. I'm so sorry. I've been doing this so long, and I've seen some just gorgeous names, and I'm like, man, if you even attempt to say that, it's going to come out for fla, because my Oklahoman does not allow me to, yeah. Sanelia. Okay. I'm going to read it. I'm going to scroll back up. Sanelia. Okay. You know, I don't know, Mama Bear. Keisha brought that up too, that maybe she spit under the rug. I'm going to be getting to the shop an hour before my beginner mentorship class tomorrow. I've got some shit I need to do after seeing that video in the hallway of her in my hallway. Yeah. Good night, Riku. Oh, you're connected in a really interesting, deep, biblical type of way. Okay. This is a weird question. Are you ready? Do you have a weird dark mole? I don't need to know where it is, but there's a mole and some kind of mark, like a birthmark or something that you have, yeah? Now, Nicole, I saw her whispering to it too. You do? Okay. Um, so this is going to sound weird. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Look what I do for a living. But yeah, it's going to sound weird. You have this interesting mark. And that's kind of what the mole is. That's kind of what the birthmark is. You have this really interesting mark. You're really deeply connected. Let me just say this before we ever get into any of this. No matter what meat sack your soul incarnates in, like you're never going to fit in. You're always going to be the black sheep. You're always going to be the one that clears up family lineage shit. You're always going to be the one that ends cycles. You're always going to be the one to you're always going to be the one that finishes things. You're always going to be the one that finishes things. You're always going to have the hard row. You're always going to be, yeah, you're always going to be the one that is the strong one that does all of the shit. Okay. I love that story of my life. All right. So in this life that I'm looking at, like this one is really, really old. I'm going to say like 300 or 400 BC old. You like it? You are connected in a really interesting way to what's the modern day Middle East. Your soul loves that area. God, your soul loves that area. I have never been, but I have friends that are from Jordan. I have friends that are from Israel. I have friends that are from Pakistan that, you know, I see photos of how beautiful it is, but there is something that ties your soul over there. Here's what I'm going to recommend before we start talking about this whole life here. If you haven't already researched Jinn, DJINN, if you haven't already researched or fallen down the rabbit hole with some of the temples over there, even the ones that they believe might have been destroyed, if you haven't already kind of fallen down some of the rabbit holes with the lore and the tails and the wardings and the protections and all of that, I highly would recommend it. I highly would recommend it because that's where your soul loves to be. There is something that ties you there. You also always feel like you're waiting. You're waiting for something. Like you're waiting for a battle. You're waiting for this. You're waiting for that. Like, so in this life here, so you're born a woman in this life I'm looking at right here. And at 1 or 2, I would say probably close to 2, you are taken to one of the temples and left. There, like I said, there's a mark. There's something about you. You're left. And at first, they aren't going to accept you until one of the priestesses brings you in. She can't let you sit out there anymore. She brings you in. So do people comment on your eyes a lot? Because there's something in this life as well with your eyes. Like in this life, they're a honey color. They're a deep honey color. You, my friend, people, oh my, so I love that. Oh my God, yes. Okay. Here's gonna be my other question, because in this life, I don't see so there's a form of heterochromia where you get, it's almost like you have dark dots in your eyes. Sometimes, like I have a friend that actually has a keyhole pupil. So she has a pupil and then a thing that comes out like a fucking keyhole. But like I'll have to take a picture of mine. Mine is from having too high eye pressure, but I actually have like north, south, east, and west marks in my eye. But there is something with your eyes now. I wouldn't be surprised if you have a form of heterochromia, where either you have the dark ring around or you have the dots in your eyes. There is always something with your eyes. You see things so much different. Okay, so in this life right here, you're almost hidden from other people until you're about 10. And that whole time, I mean, you're living in the temple with these priestesses. You're being taught all the rituals. You're learning all the things. You're being taught how to help. I mean, you're basically being trained. You think you are, I think I am an ancient story of this girl that got left. Yeah. Yes. This is you. You end up becoming a priestess here. You end up becoming one that is more connected in ways that all the other ones around you never could be. You are the one that the royalty, the leaders, the rulers, the wealthy come to for advice and so on. I'm going to say that this is probably what is. So if Israel is here and Jordan is here, it's like north. So if you were to look at a map and you were to see where Jordan is right now, it's like at that top corner. I don't know what would have been there in like 400 BC. That's where you are. Like you are highly sought after, highly revered in that life. So in this life now, in this meat sack that you're in now, you are always going to connect to spiritual topics. You're going to learn spiritual things. Anything at all, you're going to connect to that quicker than anybody else. It doesn't matter what religion it is. You're going to understand it. You're going to connect to it. You're going to be able to see all of the aspects of their point of view so faster than anybody else. Because you I have a feeling this was probably one of your first incarnations in this life, in this meat sack, or not in this meat sack, with your soul. I would also say this: you're a very measured person, and so if I wouldn't be surprised to know if you have OCD, because your soul, if you start with something, you got to end with something. If you start with, say, if you started with this life, you're going to end with a life a lot like this, where you are a priestess or a priest raised in a temple. Like I got dirt in my throat. Yeah. Woo, that's the weirdest feeling. My whole eye started watering. I'm like, what the fuck? Waiting for it to stop. You made me cry. No, I'm just kidding. I want to say I swallowed something wrong, but I didn't. I think that this is going to sound really weird, but I think that you probably passed away in a sandstorm. Because whenever I was, like, I've got shit stuck in my throat right here. Like, this is something of literally being drowned in sand. Like, I can't get it out of my throat. That's the weirdest feeling, and I don't like it at all. I almost panicked. So, yeah, that's, mm-mm. That was weird. That was weird. Yeah, there is some, look at my eye. Look at my eye. Look at my eye twitching. Yeah, I would say that there was a really, really nasty storm, and somehow you were outside the temple, and I don't think they ever found you, to be honest. I don't think they ever found you. So it could also be why your soul has this real weird, restless need of, I wouldn't be surprised if anytime you leave somewhere, you let everybody know where you're going. I'm going to be here. 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 And it's not like just an anxiety thing. It's just you feel that where they never found you. So, yeah. Still have this eye water, and what the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah. You have an interesting soul. You have an interesting soul, my friend. I think you still have a lot of incarnations to go. And I would not be one bit surprised if you end with a life very similar to this. Maybe with a better ending. But, yeah. I would bet that you end with a life like this. It was a great life. You make your kids tell you where they're going just in case. I mean, just saying. Just saying. Trauma response. Trauma response. All right, let me figure out where that went. All right. Catherine West, you're next. Well, good. I am so glad. I'm so glad. I'm going to take off my shoes. I just realized I've had these boots on all day. You'll be my personal pit bull. That's funny. I don't know. Sass might fight you over that one. All right. Y'all are funny. So what's really weird is over the last 5 months, I don't know, since like November, so okay, here's a little backstory. So when I was a kid, I used to walk on my toes a lot, like all the time, and I was never in a walker. And my grandparents used to get on to me for it, and you know, they'd make me walk around the house on my heels and things like that. Brody walks on his toes. Kay walks on her toes. Kay was in a walker, but Brody wasn't. But Kay, you know, had a little walker, but Kay wasn't on tiptoes, right? And so, time for some ultra mega boots. I mean, so I fucked up my knee in 9th grade, and my mom asked the doctor about it because there was like, I had to have surgery and everything like that. And the doctor just nonchalantly was like, oh yeah, well, her Achilles tendon is short. Like, so, when I'm laying in bed, like, I feel like I love laying with my feet like this. Like, instead of my foot being like this, like normal, like I want my foot like that. Like as far down as my foot will go. That's how I want it. And I was actually worried for a little bit because I heard somebody say something about drop foot. And whenever I learned it, I was like, oh God, do I have that? You know, I don't. It's just my Achilles tendon is really short. So it takes a lot to like stretch my tendons and my calves and stuff. But I don't know what I did in November, and I have pulled something. And so it hurts to go barefoot too long. I have to have I have really high arches too, so I have to have a lot of arch support. And I've had to be that old lady that went through and like put inserts in my favorite shoes because it feels like I'm being stabbed in the bottom of the foot sometimes. I wore these boots that had no arch support, and I wore them like 4 or 5 days straight on a trip. And then I did it again in January, and it hurt so fucking bad. It hurt so fucking bad. And so now I'm trying to kind of baby my feet and take care of them because I am, I'm on my feet all day long at the shop. All right, Miss Catherine. So yeah, so right now I've got my shoes off and I'm pulling my toes up like that, like stretching my calves. Yeah. I didn't get any made yet, but I'm really considering it. I'm really considering it. There's a place here in Tulsa that does it. And I'm really considering it. So yeah. All right. Miss Catherine. I also was having a hot flash, so I had to get my boots off. Your heels get sore, yeah. So yeah, somebody mentioned that plantar fasciitis, and I don't know. I probably need to go to the doctor and ask about it. But like I've only had it twice in my life, but I've never had it for this long. So yeah, it very well could be. Santiago mentioned it to me Sunday when we were talking. So yeah. I will deal with the pain over getting a shot. I will deal with it. I will deal with it. I've actually found a few things that I personally can do that make it feel better. It doesn't happen all the time, but yeah, it feels like getting stabbed in the foot. Like it fucking sucks. So yeah. All right. I'm not getting a shot in my foot. Y'all are on crack? No, ma'am. Y'all keep all of that evil over there. Y'all keep all that evil over there. Don't you wish that evil on me, there, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I'm not doing it. No, ma'am. I'll get tattooed all day long, but no shot in the foot. You know that's funny. You know that's funny. Yeah. I've heard about the ball, rolling the ball on the foot. Yeah. So I've got it's not a tennis ball. It's one of those hard, you know, they had the big playground balls, like they're about this big and they're like bright red or whatever, dodgeballs. I have some little ones like this that I got for my lower back. So yeah. Yeah, Scorpion. Don't do that. Don't tell me that, because then I'm like, oh yeah, I do have that shit. No, we're gonna use that for tattoos. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. You shush. You shush over there, Jen. All right. Okay. All right. Miss Catherine. Miss Catherine. Miss Catherine. Well, you have like a very powerful feminine soul. Like you do not take no for an answer. You are super stubborn. Okay. So this one's here. This one here is like early 1700s. Well, 1716, 1717. It's England, but not London. Western coast. Okay. Your soul loves kids. Your soul just loves kids. I don't, so in this life I'm looking at now, I'm trying to see how you get from one to the other, because you went from a very loving family as a kid to running like I would call it an orphanage, not a convent. But you went from having this wonderful life with, you know, not really wealthy, just barely making it by, had a little homestead with some land and a few animals and stuff like that, to being the headmistress of this school. And it's like a massive jump from there to there. So have you done your you still end up taking care of kids that aren't yours? Have you done your DNA, your lineage? Like, I don't know why, but I have this feeling that you have some hidden interesting people in there, because in this life right here, I actually wouldn't be surprised. You're a creature of habit, and I wouldn't be surprised if you kind of reincarnate in the same like DNA line a lot. Like you're a creature of habit, and so you're like, okay, I know these souls, so I'll rotate around them. So I have this feeling that your mother, I'm trying to also like poke at the name of this school to see if I can get that for you. So your mother, I think, came from an interesting family and kind of walked away, ran away to be with your father, to marry your father. And I think that that's how you get from one place to the other, because I see you at this house until about 11 years old, and then suddenly you're not there. But I don't really see you in school or anything like that. It's just weird. It's black all in there. So I have this feeling that maybe your soul has kind of blocked that out. I'm trying to poke at it just a little bit, because there's nothing bad that happens. You just suddenly aren't at that house anymore. Your mom and your sisters and you are not there anymore. It's almost like your mom has to go back home. Okay. So with you having to go back home, your mom having to go back home, it's a whole different world. When your mom has to go back home, you and your sisters are kind of separated from her, in that you don't get to see her all the time, every single day. You have, you know, women that look after you, and going to school and catching up and so on. I don't feel like your mom had like some crazy wealthy family or whatever, but they were important. And so her leaving was a big stain on the family. So her coming back, it was like indoctrination all over again, if that makes sense. And so you girls had to go through it too. You also were very quiet in this life. You were quiet as a kid. You were quiet as an adult. But what's funny is, like, you don't get married in this life. You don't get married. I think you're given the choice of running the school, and you decide to do that instead of getting married, because you don't understand why you can't go back to the little house. You don't understand. And I think that whole change and everything was really confusing to you. I have a feeling you're the baby. All of that was very confusing to you, and you didn't want to be there. You didn't want to dress a different way. You wanted to go back to how things were. Because your whole teenage years, everything is really, really a blur. And then you're it's almost like you're given the school, you're appointed to it. You know, the whole family nepotism, stuff like that. Like you're appointed to it. And that actually makes you more happy than anything. But you rarely smile in this life. Like as an adult, you rarely smile. You rarely smile. I am going to say that you live to be like right at 70 years old, because I saw the date 1717 and then I saw the date 1787. So this is a school that's, I don't think still running, but I think the building is still standing. I mean, it looks like a massive estate. I can't tell. It seems like it's a deeper color brick stone with white light trim, big topiaries out front. So it's one of those big estate houses. It's long like this, and then it has two wings right there. So where the main house is like this, and then the wings come like this, out front there are two stairwells that go up, and this is all a big wide open porch with the topiaries on it. And at the edge of the porch, or I guess it's called a porch, I don't know. At the edge of that area, there's this really ornate stone fencing, wrought iron and stone fencing. I have a feeling that this is a hotel now. Like, I really want to go look this up. I have a feeling this is a hotel now. I was trying to see where you were buried, because for some reason I feel like you were at one time buried on the property and then moved. Or part of your grave was moved. I don't understand. But now this is a hotel now. So this is on the western coast of England. Down towards the bottom. So if you're looking at a map, say you're looking at a map of England, I guess it would be like that. Like it's right in here, because there's like a bump that comes up. It's right above the bump. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So yeah, those kids there, they were your kids. They were your kids, because you never had kids in this life. So yeah. Yeah, I would absolutely look into it, because you're welcome, April. I would absolutely look into it. Like, it's literally I think it's a hotel. It's an inn, a hotel now. So yeah. Yeah. So I think that's why family is so important to you in this life, because it was important to you then and was taken from you. And so I think that's why it's so important to you in the life that you're in right now. So we're just going to block that guy. I went ahead and blocked him, Leanne. That was ridiculous. Girl, bye. Boy, bye. Let me just roll my eyes. Let me roll. The fuck, man. Go do that somewhere else. You know what I mean? Go peddle your shit somewhere else. Yeah, you're going to have to let us know if you find that, Catherine. Every time I have to back up in this chair, I'm like, I need a new chair. I told Sass I was going to buy one after I moved, and she was like, why? She was like, buy one now. Yeah, some people's kids, you can dress them up, but you can't take them anywhere. All right, Dani, you ready? Yeah, yeah, inquiring minds want to know. I mean, it's a very distinctive building, and that, like I said, it has the one long part. The roof was green, and then it has two things right here, two wings that come outside. All right, Miss Dani. From having more than 3. I didn't want kids. Like, I didn't want kids. I wouldn't trade my kids or anything, but yeah. Yeah, I was never, I had friends that wanted to get married and have babies, and I was like, no, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. Well, don't stress about that bullshit, guys. People like that. I've been on TikTok long enough that, you know, you knew you wanted kids even as a kid. That's funny. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, I've been on here long enough that if you guys had seen some of the comments that I got on my videos and stuff, when I first really started gaining a big following, like 2021, fall 2021, and then early 2022, if y'all had seen some of the comments that I got then, oh Lord, yeah, death threats and all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. It was crazy. You are so welcome, love. You know, we all want to know. We all want to know. So you're going to have to come on and be like, hey, guess what I found? Just saying. Yeah, they want the reaction. And so I don't argue with them. The drive-by Jesuses used to be really, really bad. They're not as bad anymore. But God, they used to be really bad. And so when they'd come in and say that, and I'd say, in the old gods love you too, they'd get pissed off. And yeah, it was fun. You're looking right now. Aw. Thank you, Reezer. I get attached to some of y'all too. Don't tell nobody, okay? All right. Ready, Dani? Dani's like, you got my cards. You should read them. Woo! All right. You are like kind of a super, this is going to sound weird, but a super young old soul. You really don't incarnate a lot. Whereas a lot of, okay, so like normal people at this point in whatever history, planet, whatever, planet life cycle or whatever, they might have had like 50 to, let's just say 50 to 75 lives. You've had like 4. You've had like 4. And you take a long time in between, long time, like hundreds of years in between, where most people take anywhere from 10 to 30. You take hundreds. You have to over process everything. I would bet there are so many Pleiadian markers in your chart, it ain't even funny. because this life I'm looking at right now is the one before this, but girl, excuse me, I don't mean to say girl and then because you don't want to come back a lot. Like it's like 300 years ago. Whew. This is like on the northwestern coast of Africa. And I don't know a lot about what I'm seeing, so I'm just going to try to describe it as best I can. You are fascinated with water. Okay. So in this one right here, so if I turn that on, I get hot. And this one right here, let's get all pulled up and ready. You're born a male, you're born a man. Well, I guess you're not born a man, but you know what I'm saying. Like you're born a male. I would not be surprised if in every single, thank you for that. I would not be surprised if in every single life you you are a really like painfully shy kid, because in this life here, really up until you're an adult, like you just don't want to talk to people. You're just painfully shy. You also have a fascination with the stars in this life, to the point that your father takes you to a couple of the elders around there and they begin to train you to, it has to do a lot with growing crops by certain moon phases, with growing crops by, I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm seeing. So what I'm seeing is like you as 18, 19, 20, learning from these elders how to watch the stars, how to watch the moon, how to count the days, the phases, to plant certain plants, to have things grow. Like you really are taught a lot of the things that the elders know starting at about 17 or so. And by 20, you are pretty good with a lot of it. But I don't see you with a wife. I don't see you with children. I don't see you with family. Like I don't really see you with anybody after you start learning from the elders when you're like 17 or so. After about 18, I don't see you with anybody or anything family related. Like they're just not there. The other thing I see that's really interesting, it's almost like, I mean, I grew up calling it like a band show, like an amphitheater, where there's like a stage and then the back part of it kind of comes up like that to cover it. The youngest chief. Okay. I don't know what country that is on that north. So if you were to go down to Portugal, and at the very southwestern tip of Portugal and go straight down to Africa, it's like right there. I don't know what area that is. Like I can't tell you. But that's where you were in this life. It's where you were born. It's where you're buried. You literally kind of become an elder. You literally kind of become an elder. But to be honest, I don't really think you live past about 34. And I can't see why. There's nothing violent, nothing bad. So I'm assuming it's just something health problem. But you don't live past about 34. So the thing that I'm curious about, because this is a really specific, like that amphitheater band shell. I don't know what it's called. I knew I was gonna yawn. This has some dark, like orangey maroon material stretched over the top of it. So the way that this affects you the most in this life that you're in right now is that you feel like you should be so much further ahead with what you know. Because in the life we're talking about, like you literally started learning this stuff when you were like 17 and you were immersed in it. There was nothing else to do but learn from the other, you know, from the elders that were there. There was nothing else to do but learn from them. So you feel like right now in your meat sackical life, you like that meat sackical? In your meat sack life, that you should be so much further ahead because in this last life you were. Does that make sense? I'm going to recommend carving out. Yeah, that's a thing. I'm going to recommend carving out like 20 minutes a day to learn something new. Even if it's just, okay, let me watch this video or this documentary. And I would recommend watching some documentaries to start with, but 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, because you have so much that you want to learn, and you can absolutely learn it all. But just know that it is going to take time, because you don't have what you had in that life where you could just be absorbed in it all day, every day, day in, day out. You can't do that right now, yet. You'll get there, but you can't do that yet. So you were looking for something in that life, and I can't see what it was. I can't see what it was. So those times when you're looking for something in this life, that's why. When you're looking for stuff in this life and you can't figure out what it is, where you should be, etc., that's why. That's why. You were looking for something that you didn't find. What I do find interesting about this is because you take a while to reincarnate, to come back this way, which, I mean, I don't blame you, but because you take so long, whatever it is you're learning on the other side, you're bringing back a ton of intense intuition and clairs and shit like that, empathy. So every time you do come back, it's almost like those things heighten more and more and more and more and more. And you're going to get to the point where they're so heightened, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in this life too, that I almost want to say you kind of have to back off a little bit to let them reset and relax. But, I mean, I wouldn't back off. I'm just saying. I wouldn't back off. So, yeah. Yeah. This is a weird one because I don't know the terminology for any of the stuff over there. I don't know really how best to describe the stuff over there. Like, this is a hard one for me because I'm like, oh God, I'm not familiar with that part. But this is a life of like really intense learning, really, really intense learning, really. You already do a little because it becomes a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would give yourself 20 minutes a day and just fall down the rabbit hole. Just fall down the rabbit hole, because this is a really intense life right here. It didn't seem like it then, but yeah. Being pulled into the, I guess, service of the elders for so long. I mean, you became one of the more powerful ones because you knew all the shit and you had known it all for a long time. So yeah. Does that make sense, love? So let me see here. So I've got 8 of you guys left. May take you a while. There's a lot of old buildings. This one's very specific. It's shaped like an eye. There we go. It's shaped like an eye. Okay. So yeah, it's shaped like an eye. And the middle of the building, or the brick, the stone, etc., is dark. It's dark, and it has like white pillars, etc. Yeah, it's shaped like an eye. Like the letter I. I guess I should say that. I say like the letter I. Capital letter I. Yeah. So for those of you guys that I still need to read for, let's look and see if Dani was popping back up. So I'm just going to tell you guys this. I'm hitting the wall. I got very little sleep last night. It was a very stressful evening, and I got very little sleep last night. And yeah, I'm getting to the point where I am going to hit the wall, and I don't want to not give you an amazing little past life read. So Dani, if you have questions, I'm happy to help you research. Like that's one thing that sucks, is like anything with the continent of Africa, I'm not familiar with. Anything with a lot of the Asian practices, I'm not familiar with. So it's hard for me to words the things correctly. And like, so what I'm seeing, it's almost like red dirt, like it is here in Oklahoma, but this stage is important. I have a feeling it's where you spent a lot of time. I have a feeling it's where you spent a lot of time. So okay, good. I'm glad it makes sense. But I mean, it's built out of the dirt and the rock, and it's this really beautiful, like magical place. I have a feeling that you spent a ton of time there. A ton of time there. So I'm happy to help you try to research if you need some help. It's really pretty. It's really, really pretty. So yeah. Well, I'm going to close YouTube over here, maybe.